Good afternoon, everyone out there in YouTube land. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda B3K. In this episode, we're going to attempt to refurbish the gear shift indicator on my 1989 Ford F-350 named Bertha. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, here's the shift indicator. It has two main issues with it. Issue one is, since this outer sheath is broken, it doesn't have the right amount of tension whenever you hook everything up, so it does not display appropriately up here. It's off by about a position. And unlike in later models of this, there's no adjuster barrel or anything, so we got to take care of that. And the second thing, and this will be a little harder to show, but the actual needle has a giant faded spot in it. So you see there's the needle, right? It shows you actually what gear you're in. If you look closely, that blank spot is in the shape of a P from it just sitting in park in the sun for so long. So we need to try to get to the needle so we can paint it. And that's where we're going to get started. If we take a look at how this is all put together, we've got a little bolt there that once it's loose, it makes this cable slack, which then lets us pull the cable off that little hook right there. Gets that out of the way. And then if we undo this bolt, we can then lift this plastic piece out of the way that's currently, it sits in just a little channel down there. I don't know if I'll be able to show you. Yeah, there we go. Just sits in a little channel there, and then we can take this spring off. And at that point, everything's out of the way, and we've isolated just the needle. The needle is trapped in a slide track along the back here, and we're gonna have to take this big plastic piece off the back in order to get that free. The problem with trying to get that free is when the factory put this together, that plastic piece in the back had basically plastic post that stuck through it, and then they squished it in there, and I don't know if they used a heat gun or what, but then they peened, or they kind of mushroomed out this plastic so it can't move anywhere. Which means you want to take this apart, you got to take care of that plastic, and I think my solution is I'm going to drill it out. So the next step for this, once we get all the pieces off the back that I just talked about, is it's going to go to the vise, and then I'm going to have to get a really tiny drill bit and then try drilling this out to get everything free. All right, so I did some figuring. This is a 5mm. So I'm just going to get that out of there. Said this should come out, which it did. Let me get this out of here. Which should then come up. That allows us to take the cable out, spring assemblies out, all of that's out. And now we're just down to this, which is going to go in the vise. Let's see what happens. I have no clue how tough this plastic is. This is a 1/4 drill bit. All right, let me tell you this, it don't want to bite. Let me do this. I'm going to get a punch or a pick or something. I'm going to try to make some pilot holes so that this bit's not wandering, so I don't accidentally score stuff up. Now all of this where my finger is winds up hidden, and all of this up here gets hidden, but still, let's try to avoid damage unless we absolutely have no choice. Another potential thing here is if I can get enough of this worn away, I may just be able to pop this off and pull it out. So that's another thought. I might be able to just take a razor blade and scrape the excess off and then that'll allow stuff to come free. So a couple different things I can try out here. So here's the straight razor idea. And I keep my hand out of the way. Now this is going to be interesting in the sense of I can get the tops relatively simply, but not the bottoms. But what I'm seeing here is this isn't even trying to come up, so I don't think this plan's going to work. So let me put that back and let me go get a pick. All right, let's see how that works. Probably not well, knowing my luck, but all right, that should be center-ish. Okay, I'm through. So that's one. Come in from the side and kind of stand it up. That's two. All right. Something's not happy here. I'm gonna let go. I'll probably need to peel it from the back because the front's really thin, so I'll have to get something under the back and see what I can do there. You know what? Looking from the back, I think that's actually the better place to start, at least on the top. The bottom, though, I got to come in through the front, and I'm gonna have to come in with a bigger drill bit too, because if you look, I'm all the way through, but I didn't get all the plastic. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to do a little bit of prying, see what we can do. Anyway, I'm gonna keep doing what you see me do until I get all 8. See if I can't pry this off. There's no need for you guys to see me struggle with this for 10 to 15 minutes. That's not good TV. All right, guys, check it out. So I went through first with a 1/4, and then I had to get the holes bigger. So I went up to I believe a 3/32. That's what I went up to. As you can see, some of the holes are off center, so we took some damage here, but the sins shall be hidden. This is not visible when you're driving, and nor is this down here visible. So after doing that, I got most of the plastic free. I was able to get this loose, right? So that's out. And once that was out, the needle came out. So here's the needle. As you can see, there is a P burned into it from the sun. So we need to fix that. We need to spray paint the needle real quick. Now, I don't have any orange, so I'm going to make it red. I'm not sure how that's going to make things look at night. But that's what I got, so that's what we're doing. And then here is the back side. As you can see, there you go. I didn't have to take the back plastic off. So the interesting part here to me is how I'm going to put this all back together. I'm thinking I'm just going to use some little dots of glue. I intend to service this exactly one time. If it messes up again, I'll just have to buy a new one or deal with it or something. But this really wasn't meant to be serviced. I imagine if you got a drill press procedure, you can do this better, but that's what I got. So we're going to spray paint right quick, and then we'll have to give that a few hours to dry, and then we'll put this all back together, glue it back up, and reinstall it. All right, so before I sprayed this, just in hopes that the paint would adhere better, I did scuff it a bit, as you can see. I have no clue that's actually going to help or not. Normally when you paint, you want to do that. I may need to move this somewhere else because it's windy and I don't want this tumbling. I'll see if I can't weigh stuff down, but basically I'm just spray painting. This is probably not the right way to do this, but this is how we're doing it today. And just gonna take it and go. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, and then we wait. According to the instructions here, we wait. Blah, 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 blah. Da, 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 da. 2 light coats followed by 1 medium coat. Apply all coats within 1 hour, allowing 10 minutes between each coat. So we'll give it 10 minutes and we'll again. And that'll probably be it, because the more we spray this, the darker it's going to get, which means the less it'll illuminate at night. All right, let's talk about this other thing that needs to be patched up while we're doing this here. So the way that this works is the cable gets tension pulled on it, right? But what keeps the cable kind of in its right position is it being pulled upon by this outer sheathing. And with this sheathing broken, it makes it so that when the cable's under tension, it's not pulled into the right place. So we need to fix that. And what I've decided to do is I've got these shrink sleeves, right? Put some heat on them, they shrink. So I took one of them, and as you can see, cut it open. And it occurs to me this was a better idea in my head than what it could potentially be, because I can't control whether or not this stays together. So what I'll do first is I'll put a little bit of electrical tape around that to hold it still, and then I'll use this to lock it tight so it can't wiggle over time. Because electrical tape, you know, it can stretch, it can unwind on you. But the heat shrink should stay tight for quite a long time. And that hopefully will fix this enough that when I put the indicator back in, it's not like a position and a half off, which is how it was before I started this process. Alrighty. No, don't do that. Okay, so we're gonna bring that around. Be careful with that. I really need to have a blade out. I don't have a blade out, so we're just gonna be naughty here. Ah, okay. Managed to do that without putting pressure on this. All right, so now it's back together. So now we can take this shrink sleeve. It'll kind of do this. And then we got to get the end of the cable not hanging off into space. So I don't want this cable up on that plastic piece. I want it in the fold. Meanwhile, the end of the cable keeps hanging off into space, which is just complicating my life. All right, go gadget heat gun. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. Wow, that didn't work at all. You guys didn't see a darn thing. So it needs to shrink from the other side in order to be meaningful. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, that did not behave like I thought it would. Interesting. Yeah, so there's the problem there. See that? Even though it's wrapped with tape, it's separated. So I gotta ponder this. Just gotta fix this. Tape's not gonna work. Gotta come up with a way to lock it tight. Well, I have an idea. It's pretty rednecky, but it might work. Be right back. All right, this is another one of those where I fiddle farted around until I came up with something. So what I did is I took a zip tie, small one, cut it in half, cut the head off, laid that across. I pushed the two pieces of insulation together, laid it across, and then taped that. And now the tape is holding all of this, and that's keeping it from separating. So now it shouldn't separate anymore. So that should be a repair. Hopefully that lasts the remaining life of this cluster, and eventually, you know, if I have to replace the cluster, I'll come up with something. Meanwhile, all right, we're back. It's been a little bit of time. This is dried to the point where I can hold it. I think that'll do. Not going to be perfect, but this is a repair for me, myself, and I. So, and that still slides really nice. This is good. So now we need to go ahead and rebuild the back here. So we had a spring. I need to hook. This has got to get hooked back on first. Increase the zoom here. So we got ourselves a spring doing springy dingy things. And we have ourselves a loop. And we need to get the loop back over yonder. And eventually I will figure this out. Oh, that's how you do it. Just gotta go just as straight as you can, and then you gotta kind of roll it. Yeah, there we go. So that gives us that. And then we have our spring that needs to hook right there. So that's going to give us that. Then we need wherever it ran off to. This is not going to be good if it rolled off the bench and went somewhere, but we need that little screw and the plastic collar on it that goes right there. Ah, here it is. So we want, meanwhile, this actually is going to kind of do that. This is going to roll over like that. That's going to go through. Kind of do that. I'm curious on how tight this gets. So that's okay, good. They did design it intelligently, so that wasn't a problem. Okay, and then we got to get that kind of snuck over that. Like that. Okay. So this part is rebuilt. Snazzy. Okay, and then we need to take this, which sat like that, and we should have one more screw. Yeah, it looks like this dude because he's very tiny. And come on, get started. Thank you. Go ahead and drive him in. Okay. you get all that, then meanwhile over here, we're going to pull this tension out. So you can see, this would be you moving the shifter, right? Groovy. Very nice, very nice. All right, all that is done. Now we come back here. And I need to lay this on top. And we get, push it flat. You get that. So is it as good as the orange? Nah, but are we going to get the job done? Absolutely. And it's actually solid now. So, yeah, that's a good thing. As you can see, I can kind of push this in and hook on the remnants of the plastic. That should be enough, again, for me to put little dots of glue probably along this plastic ridge. I need to be really careful, though, that I don't accidentally get glue on the indicator. That would make me sad. So let me go get the glue, and then we're going to glue this in. And call it a day. Well, I'll let it dry for a few hours, and then I'll try to reinstall it. I had a thought of maybe slipping some zip ties through here, but that's even a bridge too far for me. And I like rednecky solutions sometimes. So I guess what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put dabs of glue there, very light dabs. Kind of squeeze this in, and once it begins to take, got these little, I think these are welding clamps to hold stuff when you weld, but they're locking. They do a fantastic job of situations like this where you need to hold something, right, for an hour or two. And this will get her done. So use these. All right, so this is Gorilla Glue, super glue. Your first step is to do this if you've never used it before. And this is the gel kind, not the liquid. So you get a lot more point control, which is kind of what I'm all about. There we go. Now it's super glue, so you know, can't dilly-dally. Just a little bit. And again, I know this is going to look kind of ugly, and I really don't care. Because I don't intend to service this again. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. If I wind up with a couple of spots that aren't sticking, then I'll come in and I'll sneak some more glue in there. All right, let me make this tighter. Not there yet. Trick is to get these tight enough to do the job, but not so tight as to damage stuff. So that'll do it on that side. How are we looking over here? Almost. So we'll see what that does. Thinking that'll be enough, because all this, you know, it tucks into a housing and then it itself gets bolted in. I just want to make sure that this, I'm not sure what you'd call it, but the black piece that actually has the lettering in it is going to stay. So is that actually going to stay? Oh, it looks like it's going to stay. How cool is that? Back it off of here. There we go. I know, sound like a broken record here. It's because occasionally I get comments like, "Oh, you could have done it like this." You're right, I could have, but I'm the one here with the tooling, so do what I can with what I got. I generally have a lot of time pressure. I have kids, wife, and other obligations, so I sneak out during lunch breaks and things like that to make these videos. And anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone. So I keep poking at it, the glue's not gonna do the job. And I'll give it an hour or so. That should be enough for our purposes to make sure this sticks. And then I'll do final reassembly into the cluster. Then we will get the cluster back in, and we'll see if we fixed our voltmeter, and we'll see if this is a successful repair or not. All right, that is how we look with it reinstalled. As you can see, most of our sins were hidden there. So should be totally decent. And now that that's done and all the other work's been done, we got to put this back in so that we can see if this is going to wind up behaving appropriately and lining up where it ought. All right, guys, check it out. So got it rotated far enough forward we can shift. So there's park, reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 1. So that's working. 1, 2, drive, neutral, reverse, park, and run it back through again. Looks very nice. Yep, so what this means is two things. It means our repair right here with our zip tie is working. And that is something that if it wiggles loose, that's not a big deal to try and fix. It also means that our little faceplate's staying on there and that the color's readable and workable. Adjustment. All right. So your only adjustment for this thing, it doesn't have an adjuster barrel like the newer Fords do. You've got this slider. So it goes in, there's a little catch up top. So you, come on camera. There's a little catch up top that goes in, and then you slide this up and down to a point. And then when you're happy with what you see, you tighten it down with this 1/4 bolt. So that's just what I did. The cable wasn't really stretched. The only damage was to that sheathing that needed to pull tension. Now that that's fixed, as you move to the right, that spring stretches out more, so it fights you more, and that's where you really need to make your adjustment. Because when you're in park, okay, who cares? There's no tension on the spring. But as you move over, that's when you can do this fine tuning, lock it in, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to call this a successful repair. All right, let's make sure I didn't break anything else on the cluster doing all this. So we're going to want 5 seconds of glow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put on the floor and crank it. All right, so voltmeter's looking good. Oil pressure's fine. Fuel looks good. Obviously the tachometer is working. Fast idle is on. Can't check the speedometer until we're moving. I'll let it warm up, and that also should verify whether or not the temperature gauge is working, because remember, that also got replaced. All right, looks like we do have a temp gauge. So then the last thing to check would be, yep, well, I might need to put some fluid in it, but, oh no, that went backwards. That's not good. Oh boy, am I gonna have to tear all this apart? Fix the speedometer? Maybe. Let's see. The answer is nope, speedometer's okay. And I'm doing this because I'm on my driveway. I'm not actually out and about. But yeah, so alright. Everything looks good. So I'm gonna call this a successful repair. Alright folks, that's gonna do it for this episode where we refurbished and then reinstalled the gear shift indicator on my 1989 Ford F-350 named Bertha. So if you found this video interesting, if you found it entertaining, if you learned something, please consider sharing, and subscribing this video. It helps to grow the channel, which allows me to bring you more content like this. Also, please leave a comment. I like to read them, I like to reply to them, and I do like to learn from them. And lastly, guys, I make the mistakes so you don't have to. Catch you guys next time.